Having spent a lot of time trying to dream up weird and wonderful ways to mount those headlights, the actual mount, I decided to get some of these standard kind of clip-ons around the forks, but of course they're designed for older bikes with smaller forks, so they don't even begin to join up. But we'll get around that somehow, and the mount itself remains to be seen. I think some aluminium tube to go for that Alfa Romeo effect I'm looking for. Also doing the rear light, which doesn't look very pretty at the moment, but bear with me. There it is, behind the manufactured groove in a really nice curve. So what I did was welded a nut in there. That'll be with JB Weld, and that just gave it the curve so I can tuck it round. And then I've used HVAC tape, which is extraordinarily strong, to tape it in place. And it may sound crazy, but we used to tape down the fuel tank access cap in the back of the race car with this stuff, so it's really strong. So what we've got to do is trim it up at the edges with a sharp knife, and of course all those holes, so it doesn't show in there. And that'll be a job done. There you have it. Beautifully recessed in there. Ain't nothing you can't do with sticky back plastic. Reminds me of Blue Peter. There we have it, all lit up like a Christmas tree. They're quite bright actually. And yeah, I know, this is a sledgehammer to crack a walnut, and if anyone can guess the right answer for a genuine Maserati battery, the retail price that is, I'll give you a prize. I think I'll have it slightly more inboard, still plenty of room off the chain, and yeah, I think I like that. Quite sexy. I bought these rather lovely hose clamps. I think they're for intercoolers actually, but they get an even distribution of grip when you tighten them up. I bought them for the Bel Air actually on one of the cooling hoses, and they came as a set of 4, and so I have a couple spare, and they're the perfect size for the job. Exactly the same as the front forks. So that means I'm going to cut the curvature off these, probably on that straight line there, and just put a little slot through and tighten them up with those clips. Running that cable for the rear brake light up inside here with some of that fantastic HVAC tape. Focus please, thank you. And so it's up there, and then we're going to take it through that, and then down here and up into the frame. I was going to run it down the inside of that chain guard, which is plastic, this guy here, but then that kind of pushes that out, and then we get to this point where we're really close to the chain, and I don't know how many revolutions a minute, second, whatever that does, but don't want that chafing it. So then I thought about one of these carbon fiber tubes, which is off the race car front splitter actually. We never bothered putting the carbon fiber fancy bit on, but yeah, that's going to look fairly crap however I route it, even if it comes down here to start with or something. Well, actually that might work. So I might do that, or I might actually drill through the swing arm and bring it up on the inside, and then use that magic tape, because nobody will see that. Best thing about doing these videos is that, as my new friend who bought my Senna pointed out, memory's not so good when you get to our age, and I labelled this orange because it's a very short wire that I put the yellow wire on. Comes from the Speedo, and I spent a long time looking in the loom for an orange wire, and there's one that looks orange but it's orange and yellow, and there's another one that's orange and red, and then I referred back to one of my videos and found it's here all on its own with a little label that says Speedo orange. There you go. And yes, I mashed up my thumb again opening the door, so that's why I wasn't wearing gloves at the time. While there's a good chance I'm going to shorten this and actually trim these wires, because there's only 5 of them, so I don't have all this excess wiring. For the moment, I've got to add that much to that yellow wire. I'm using my little heaty things again. There's a good chance this one will catch fire. Well, I won't be videoing it, just because that's paper there. This time I shall be using my trusty Zippo, because the that little torch lighter I had ran out of gas. Not ideal, because depending on whether you just filled it up, which I have, Zippos can be a little bit unpredictable with their flame. I actually set fire to my bed once. Nothing to see here, no fire, successfully joined. All done with very little fire to speak of. There was that other one, that red and white, so I used some white there, and that's now connected to the main loom. So it has to go all the way down the Speedo cable and then all the way back up again. Cable, you know, wiring, whatever, you know. And of course, it's F4 o'clock. Cheers. While I'm looking at the wiring, I've realised on this front section here that I'm thinking of putting a cover on and wondering how to mount it, that some kind of bracket like this fitted onto that stud that I've already got there might do the job. To start playing with some of the electrics, obviously we're going to have to connect it back up to the battery. There's a few stray wires. What could possibly go wrong? All connected up and no sparks so far, despite the fact I'm listening to Fireworks by Susie and the Banshees. Spoke too soon, hit the positive on the frame, few sparks. Here we go, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're in neutral. The side stand is down. Now up. So that works. So we can test bypassing that. What else? I'm not going to try and start it, obviously. We would appear to have power. Going to start at the back, because this is nice and easy. And just going to work out, there's 3 wires here. So I'm guessing one is earth, one is rear light, and one is the brake. So I'm just going to work out which is which, so I know which ones I've got to detour for that little fancy backlight that I did. Ding, ding, ding. 3 wires. I'm guessing green is earth or ground, which will make Rob laugh. But it's all right. I've got a tester. I'm going to test. Oh, and then place your bets: blue or brown for the brake light. Not a good start. Not getting 12 volts out of anything. Any combination. Tried it with a light bulb too, just for fun. Maybe time to call in the experts. Undaunted, I am going to do what I was going to do next, which is try and fool the bullshit detector back in the garage. Name that tune. These bullshit detectors, to be precise. The side stand I'm going to start with. Then again, this looks pretty complicated too, because this is your side stand, which comes out the other end and goes into this guy, which is something to do with the Speedo, and that goes down here. to this guy, which obviously senses some kind of propulsion from the motor. I hate electrics. So, having slept on it, I had a thought concerning the bullshit detector, because it's not plugged in, and maybe that's the problem. Can't imagine it would shut down the lights, but who knows? While it's common to mislay one's keys when one gets to my age, it's a little unusual to mislay the whole ignition switch. There it is, of course. Now we got a whole lot more activity going on. This is encouraging. Perfect place to mount the lights on the handlebars. Well, at least while I'm messing around with the electrics. Obviously they're not going to stay there forever. Meantime, I was using these connectors just to temporarily reconnect stuff up here that I didn't think I needed to connect, and didn't want to go to all the trouble of heat wiring it. Great little connectors that I didn't order. They just turned up with an Amazon order at some point, and they just pop open. Like that. Yeah, so these guys just lift up. Again, can't do it one-handed, but you get the idea. These lift up and the wires come out. Looking at the front lights and the factory fitting, it makes sense that that one on the right is the earth or ground, because it's separated with that little plastic doofer in there, if you can see that. And sure enough, I was right. And the first one along from it is the just the dip lights, which is all I'm going to be running. So that works perfectly. Applying the same logic to this, because that earth wire is blue. Not a very earthy colour. Anyway, turns out the blue is the earth on the backlights too, which is not a very earthy colour, not very helpful. MV Agusta. Anyway, got to the bottom of all that in the end. Probably the only bloody combination I didn't try, honestly. This is the wiring for that all-important kill switch up here, and clearly we've moved it forward about 2 foot, or a foot at least, because there's all this. And I don't really want to throw that all in there. It's just a bit stupid. So regrettably, I am going to cut and splice all these. I'm still going to be left with a bit, because I want it to fit in that thinner sheath. So I'm going to cut them at different points so that all the joins aren't at the same point, creating a bulge. Forward thinking, huh? Temporary test here, really just to see what it looks like. And I had a piece of aluminium tube. I happen to have some rubber grommets which just fitted in there nicely, and then this bolt just snugs in on the existing handlebar headlamp clamps. And I'm using the newly discovered quick release connectors, which are great actually. They're really good. Just to give it a test run, really. Yeah, kind of like that. Difficult to tell with all the clutter in the background. They're further forward than I'm going to mount them, and not quite horizontal. Whoa. There we go. Kind of like that. Sweet. And while I was messing around in here, I realised that I got a little void between the overflow tank and the frame. and some little holes here, and I've made up a bracket which comes out there, and that'll allow me to mount the front half of that cover, which will go in this void here, cover up all that stuff. We are getting places. There we go. Let's sit further back now on those mounts. Couple of notches in, just snugged in there. If we take this, let's get rid of that. There we go, much better. Not too much protrusion going on. That's what we want to see. Lovely. Yeah, like that. Now I'm going to shorten this excess of wire. As I said, cutting it at different points. I started with the yellow that I had extended, which goes to orange, which actually I'd cut at exactly the right length that I need before. So I don't need that extension in there, and that will join up. And then I'll do the equivalent with all that stuff. Get rid of it. Saving weight as well. That's no joke, actually. When we stripped out the race car of all the wiring, there was over 30 pounds in weight of excess wiring that we didn't need. One thing I do when the camera is out of focus, really, one thing I do is not twiddle the ends of the wire when I'm using these connectors, because they're also out of focus. Because then the two wires that meet in the middle with that solder actually kind of intermingle, and the solder solders them together nicely rather than being two separate items. Today's top tink tip. Is that even a thing? Could be a thing. All cut to different lengths to allow the bulk to not build up, and obviously at the other end the green one will be the shortest, and the red and yellow, whatever the hell that is, will be the longest correspondingly. What do we all think of the possibility of a little bikini fairing there? Or maybe that way around. Decided to route that rear light cable through that swing arm. So drilled a hole, got the posi through, just got to get the neg to follow it. Using that fabulous HVAC tape, just a tiny piece, managed to get it through the hole. So there it is, completely concealed all the way, goes down and then up like the brake light, and there it is up top. Comes out there. Sweet. Inappropriate t-shirt. But watch this space. Well, I think that's quite enough enlightenment for one session. So thanks again for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again soon.